Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street, very rainy Marcus Street this morning. We have a lot to cover, a lot to catch up on just since yesterday. We have a few viewer comments to get to as well, and some New York State issues, and some Democrat issues, and Trump issues, all that and much more. If you are new to the program, you can reach out at any time to that number on the bottom of the screen to comment on the topics of the day. A little bit later on in the program, we're going to be talking to Big Fox's own Dante Brown. He does the Big Fox News at 10 and now at 5 a.m. right before this broadcast. So we're going to be talking with him. He's been here a little over a year, and in the past I always like to interview our journalists, and just fell through the cracks. So we got with Dante yesterday to record an interview for this morning's broadcast. But let's get right to it. We've got comments from viewers. First off, congratulations, Mike Pence, for winning the JFK Courage Award. Many heroes that day, but they weren't named Trump or the mob of misfits he sent up to the Capitol. Crypto Don at big 1.5 million plate crypto dinner tonight. Does something smell a little? Ford has to pull guidance for this year. Says it will lose 1.5 billion because of tariffs. Where's all the ships? Uh-oh. Will the sleeves thin out in the next couple of weeks? This is getting a little too cryptic. Or worded strange and not cryptic. Hey, let's reopen Alcatraz. Can't afford the prisons we already have. That only cost $1 billion or 5 or 10 to rebuild. And why would anyone want to? Trump is a nut, as if we all don't know that. Let's use all that Doge and tariff money, that caving in rust bucket. Trump's new retaliation facility. We'll get right on it, Don. Don't fire us. Ed Martin is qualified. How long can Donnie go? Doesn't Trump have to uphold and defend the Constitution? Was he dodging the question Sunday? Well, yes, he was. I think he was. Trump had another great day. Congrats. And in closing, the top 20 school district officials make a combined $3.2 million, and they want to raise the budget 6.3%. Their salaries are out of control. Guess they should have thought about that before they turned the middle school sports complex into turf. I'll vote no, along with the vast majority of others I've heard from. World's gone nuts. Thank you. Covered a lot there. We are going to talk about Mike Pence a little bit later on in the program. When it comes to the schools, we'll be talking about that budget. I understand the concern at the end. I would agree with the concern at the end. When it comes to administration, such an exorbitant cost, that's what people are focusing on, and they're looking at. And it's actually, I'm not sure what school district you're referring to. I assume, because of the middle school comment, Corning, I think they want to increase by more than 6.3%, don't they? I had that for the announcement the other day. We had the PowerPoint presentation that they presented to the community, and I know there's going to be a lot of pushback, but of course they're going to, as normal, 7.89% increase is what they're asking for. We will be talking about that as the vote nears, the vote coming up on the 20th. I would love to hear your thoughts overall on the school budgets. Okay. A lot of waves coming in. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. I saw an interview with Hochul. She said Trump doesn't follow the Constitution. Well, isn't that the pot calling the kennel black, as she's attacking the Second Amendment? Very good point, Mark. We're going to talk about Hochul. Hochul's not worried about Stefanik either. Now, Stefanik has not declared that she's running for governor, but people are speculating that she's thinking about it. Well, Hochul's not worried. She should be. Hey, really quickly, if you tune into the other outlets, you're going to see a lot of coverage of the Met Gala. And in full disclosure, you are not going to see that coverage here on Frankly Speaking this morning. But there was a question posed by The Atlantic that I think is just worth mentioning quickly. And it's not about the Met specifically. But they asked the question, is this the worst ever era of American pop culture? That's a fair question. According to a recent YouGov poll, Americans rate the 2020s as the worst decade in a century for music, movies, fashion, TV, and sports. A 2023 story in the New York Times Magazine declared that we're in the least innovative, least transformative, least pioneering century for culture since the invention of the printing press. And one art critic for The Guardian recently proclaimed that the avant-garde is dead. So your thoughts? Is this the worst ever era of American pop culture? That's as much as we'll talk about the Met this morning. Okay, as an update from yesterday's program, President Trump did defend the viral picture of him as the Pope, saying that the AI-generated image, which is AI can be very impressive, but that it was a joke and that you have to have a little fun. They can't take the joke, he told reporters. And he was referencing those in the, quote, fake news media, not Catholics. The Catholics loved it, he said. The image that shared on the official White House X account sparked some outrage in the Catholic community, with priests commenting about how the post is disrespectful. Bishop Robert Barron said, I think it was a bad joke that obviously landed very poorly and was seen as offensive by a lot of Catholics, and I wish he hadn't done it. Timothy Cardinal Dolan, the Archbishop of New York, who Trump actually has pushed, wants to actually be the Pope, said, I hope he didn't have anything to do with that. It wasn't good. The president said he had nothing to do with the picture and that he wasn't the one who put it up on Truth Social. Somebody made up a picture of me dressed like the Pope and they put it on the internet. That's not me that did it. I have no idea where it came from. First Lady Melania Trump thought it was cute, he added, joking that popes traditionally are not married, which would make it hard for him to have the job. Now, this, of course, coming off the heels of him originally making the joke that when they asked, who do you want to be Pope? He said, well, how about me? I'm my first choice. And then Lindsey Graham piling on. And so that was just in reference to that, a little joke. But as he said, it was the mainstream media, the fake news media, that faked this outrage, not Catholics. Also, as another update, a Republican-led House panel has advanced legislation that would make the Gulf of America name change permanent. The House Rules Committee voted along party lines to refer the Gulf of America Act, introduced by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, to the full House floor for a vote, which is expected to take place later this week. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene recently has been very critical of Donald Trump. We may have an opportunity to get to that. I have some criticism, whether it's from Pence, whether it's from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Politics makes some strange bedfellows. And also some other media updates of attacks and criticism on Trump. But the act would codify President Trump's executive order renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America and directs federal agencies to update their documents and maps accordingly to incorporate the new names. Quote, despite the claims that Republicans are wasting time, the truth is that we're moving forward with legislation that defends American interests, said House Rules Committee Chairwoman Virginia Fox. In short, this legislation recognizes the strategic influence America's had over this geography, not to mention the existing economic, cultural, and commercial might that we passively exert on the Gulf. The Congresswoman argued that the Democrat lawmakers opposing the name change can't find, quote, a single concrete data point indicating that calling the body of water the Gulf of America has been detrimental to the American people. Having the realities of the Gulf's link to America reflected in government records makes sense. We shouldn't let certain allergic reactions to decisions made by the Trump administration stand in the way of good public policy. Instead, we should support this decision and codify it, demonstrating our Article 1 authority. Now, Democrat lawmakers tried to attach several amendments to the bill in an effort to thwart the legislation, such as one that would have restricted oil and gas drilling permits in the Gulf, but none passed. Democrats are so overtaken with Trump derangement syndrome and obsessed with obstructing the president's agenda that they will always put America last, said a White House spokesperson. As President Trump said, the Gulf of America has long been an integral asset to our nation. All future generations should be able to recognize this beautiful body of water as a sign of American greatness. Representative Mary Gay Scanlon, Democrat from Pennsylvania, argued during the hearing that Republican lawmakers are tripping over themselves to find new and more embarrassing ways to suck up to the president and indulge his peculiar obsessions. This bill to rename the Gulf of Mexico is a stupid, unserious waste of time and taxpayer dollars. It's an embarrassment to the nation that it was ever introduced. let alone that is being brought to the floor for a vote. All right, we will see if that is voted through later this week. We have some other updates that we'll have to get to, and a couple, I think at least one example of, again, where I think some top administration officials are watching, frankly speaking. I'll give you that example coming up here in just a little bit. Also, update on universities. Just a lot to cover. And as I said, we're going to be talking with Dante Brown. I really look forward to that. Dante is our MMJ, they're called, multimedia journalist. He does Big Fox News at 10, and now that broadcast at 5 a.m. right before this broadcast here, frankly speaking. So we'll be talking with him. Just find out a little bit about the reporter that you watch and trust on our 10 o'clock news. We'll be reading your comments when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Gardens and landscaping will help you grow a green thumb.
Hey, this is John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service, licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
The Twin Tiers' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Some comments from viewers. As a Catholic, I didn't appreciate it. That meaning the photo of the AI-generated photo of Trump as Pope, So most Catholics didn't like it. Thank you very much, viewer. Comment from Mark. Trump and the border czar are now offering $1,000 and a plane ticket out. 7,000 have complied. It's a great idea as it costs 17,000 to deport each one. Yes, illegal aliens will get a beautiful flight out of the United States if they voluntarily self-deport under a new program spearheaded by the Department of Homeland Security. The financial incentive would give illegal aliens $1,000 only after they verify that they have self-deported to their home country using the CBP Home mobile app. Several European countries, such as Germany and Denmark, have imposed similar policies that have been very successful in helping to reduce illegal immigration. Trump said in the Oval Office yesterday, "What we thought we'd do is a self-deport. We're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from. It's called self-deportation." He also praised border czar Tom Homan and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem while slamming district court judges for their attempts to block his crackdown on illegal immigration. It's a very difficult thing with the courts because the courts have all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they've said, maybe you have to have trials. We're going to have 5 million trials. Doesn't work. You wouldn't have a country left. Hopefully the Supreme Court will save it. You know, past presidents took out hundreds of thousands of people. You look at Eisenhower. You look at many of them. They didn't go through this. He said, and he also said, maybe someday with little work, those that self-deport, they can come back in. If they make it, we're going to work with them so that maybe someday with a little work, they could come back in. But Trump said this will only happen if they're good, industrious people who love the country. And if they're not, they won't. But it'll give them a path to becoming, to coming back into the country. If they miss the limit, they're going to be taken out of the country. It'll be a much tougher process, and it's called self-deportation. And by doing that, you're talking about so many millions of people. So they would receive a $1,000 stipend for self-deporting. Now, because of this, Senator Ruben Gallego from Arizona is pushing amnesty for millions of illegal aliens in the United States in response to this self-deportation program. On Monday, we talked about that. Gallego suggested he opposed self-deportations and instead offered an amnesty plan that would keep eligible illegal aliens on renewable work visas indefinitely, flooding the American labor market with millions of newly legalized foreign workers. Quote, why don't we make them pay a $5,000 fine, go through a background check, and give them a work visa for a few years, renewable with good behavior, he wrote. Despite increasing popularity, Democrats have continued opposing deportations, even for the most violent criminal illegal aliens. A recent CBS News poll found that a majority, 56% of American adults, support the Trump administration's goal of locating, detaining, and deporting illegal aliens from the United States. And look, we've talked about it before extensively. They have, meaning the left has saddled up to people like Abrego Garcia with his background, with his record of spousal abuse, his alleged ties to MS-13. That is who they have made kind of the face of the anti-deportation wing, I guess. It seems like a tough sell, but it's very much, and we're going to talk about it here in just a little bit, it's very much, I think, a difficult sell for places like Harvard. To say, no, we stand with the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses. It's interesting, someone had said it earlier on in this program, the Trump derangement syndrome, making it so that everything is opposed that Trump does. But the American people support the deportation, and I just don't think hitching your wagon to Abrego Garcia is the political battle that I would want to take. Okay, update from yesterday. PETA thanked the Trump administration for its push to end government-funded animal testing after the National Institutes of Health Director, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, announced the closure of the agency's last beagle testing facility. This came up on yesterday's broadcast. Bhattacharya, who gained international recognition for being one of the few major voices in the medical field who spoke out against coronavirus lockdowns, made the announcement over the weekend on Fox News. Quote, it's very easy, for instance, to cure Alzheimer's in mice, but those things don't translate to humans, he said. So we put forward a policy to replace animals in research with technological advances, AI, and other tools that actually translate better to human health. We got rid of all the beagle experiments on NIH campus. In a statement by PETA Director, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, Director of Science Advancement and Outreach, Dr. Emily Trinnell, the statement reads, after more than a decade of agitation, tens of thousands of emails to NIH officials from PETA supporters, and a 2021 landmark lawsuit, PETA welcomes the long overdue news that NIH is canceling at least one of the appalling sepsis experiments that inflicted prolonged suffering on animals in federal and federally funded laboratories. Since 2013, PETA has argued for the complete termination of these cruel and scientifically worthless experiments on all animals, and we will continue to fight until every last one is ended. It is also critical to underscore that the beagles tormented and killed in these now terminated painful experiments were purchased from Envigo. This notorious facility was shut down after PETA's undercover investigation exposed the nightmarish conditions in which thousands of dogs were warehoused. PETA's investigation led to the historic rescue of 4,000 dogs. Now, the end of beagle testing at NIH comes after the discovery of horrific experiments done on the lovable animals at the direction of none other than Dr. Anthony Fauci during his long tenure at the health agency. A years-long investigation by medical watchdog group White coat waste revealed that the NIH has killed over 2,100 beagles in brutal septic shock experiments since 1986. The NIH pumps pneumonia-causing bacteria into beagles' lungs, bleeds them out, and forces dogs into septic shock. After 4 days of infection, NIH kills the beagles and stuffs their body into a refrigerator. It was found. This being done extensively under Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci's watch. So that's an update from a story we had for you yesterday as well. And now we got to take a break. And I mentioned that sometimes it just seems as if the powers that be are watching this program. We had a piece yesterday where Michael Goodwin from the New York Post nearly quoted us word for word. We've had comments made by viewers that the hours later the Trump administration seemed to embrace, and this happened yesterday. We're going to talk about it when we come back from our quick commercial break. Stay with us.
This year, Big Fox and Coastal Television bring you 23 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer on WJKP. No Apple Plus subscription, no Fubo subscription, no MLB subscription required. We have the schedule for all of our Mets games on WYDCTV.com. Don't miss May 16th, Mets versus Yankees, and June 2nd, Mets versus Dodgers. Brought to the Twin Tiers by Big Fox.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right. Yesterday we were talking about Marco Rubio and, the kind of talk surrounding him on Sunday's Meet the Press. Donald Trump suggesting, when asked who could be kind of the heir apparent to MAGA, who could run for president in 2028, he said J.D. Vance, got a great vice president. He mentioned Rubio real quick. Well, Rubio, there's been article after article of it looks as if now he has the president's ear, if he's heavily respected. And we had a viewer, and I don't have it right in front of me, but a viewer compare him to Henry Kissinger. Well, mere hours later, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller predicted that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will go down in history as the Henry Kissinger of our time. Quote, Donald Trump said he is considering you, and you seem like you're at the top of the list of considerations to replace Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor. Laura Ingraham asked Stephen Miller. That put fear in the heart of liberals everywhere. But what's your reaction to this? Stephen Miller said, well, thank you. But we have a tremendous national security advisor right now. His name is Marco Rubio. I've gotten to know Marco so well, I consider him a close friend. He's doing an extraordinary job. He will be the Kissinger of our time, and I'm just proud to work alongside him in my role as Deputy Chief and Homeland Security Advisor. And by the way, he and I are working on behalf of President Trump on the project of getting all these illegal alien gangsters out of the country and finding other countries to take them. That's actually one example of how I'm working with Marco on a day-to-day basis to execute President Trump's agenda. And let me tell you, President Trump made the right choice with this opponent. Rubio currently holds 4 positions, folks: Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, USAID Administrator, and Archivist of the United States. So whoever commented on that yesterday, making the comparison between Rubio and Henry Kissinger, you are either really ahead of the curve or they're watching this program, because Stephen Miller saying that Rubio will go down, quote, he will be the Kissinger of our time. There you are. Okay. Oh, hey, another update, one that you may not have been expecting, but a New York Times photographer was awarded a Pulitzer Prize Monday for his photos of the assassination attempt against President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is the photo that's so famous with the fight, fight, fight. One iconic image by the Times' Doug Mills managed to capture the split-second moment a speeding bullet was seen mid-air next to Trump's head at the rally. The photo was one of several he captured that day that earned him one of the most prestigious awards in journalism. Days after the assassination attempt, Mills sat down with Fox News at the Republican National Convention to share his firsthand account of the shocking ordeal. He said at the time, quote, I just happened to be down shooting with a wide-angle lens just below the president when he was speaking. There was a huge flag waving right above his head. I just happened to be taking pictures at that same time. Then when I heard the pops, I guess I kept hitting on the shutter. And then I saw him reach for his ear. He grimaced and grabbed his hand and looked. It was blood, and then he went down. I thought, dear God, he's been shot. Mills said the moment he discovered he had captured an image of the bullet whizzing past Trump was a surprise to him. It happened after he was ushered into a tent and began sending photos of Trump's defiant fist pump to an editor. I'm surprised he won this award, because he kind of became, not him, but his photo became kind of a thorn in the side of Democrats at that time. Even Maureen Dowd, who's not a Trump fan, said, can you imagine seeing that picture and not having that person be president after that? You had editors and various people behind the scenes saying no longer show that photo, whether in newspaper, whether on TV, because they were calling it a good use. It was being used for Trump propaganda. Imagine that, going through an assassination attempt, having that photo, and they felt that it was pro-Trump propaganda, that they were doing Trump a favor by showing the photos. We talked about that extensively on this program at the time. Numerous outlets, the names escape me at this point. I think we read it from Axios, where they're saying behind the scenes no longer show that photo. That was during the campaign, of course. So I'm surprised that he won this award, as that iconic photo is seen as something that did boost the Trump campaign. He's like, I remember taking pictures of him when this happened. Let me go back and look. I started looking at it, and I started sending them right away. And I called one of the editors and said, please look at these really closely. This might have been near the moment where he was shot. She called me back like 5 minutes later and said, you won't believe this. She goes, we actually see a bullet flying behind his head. And I was like, oh my gosh. For any of you photography type people, the images were captured with a Sony A1 camera. The New York Times media reporter Katie Robertson reported Doug Mills of the New York Times won the Breaking News Photography Prize for his photos capturing the attempted assassination of President Trump last year, including an image in which a bullet can be seen. So there you are. Surprised the award was given to him, but it's almost one that couldn't be denied. Okay. Now, the big story of the day, I know we're moving quickly. I should have really started with this, arguably, which is what's happening with airport infrastructure. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy blamed the Biden administration for not addressing aging airport infrastructure, which he claims contributed to the terrifying radar and communications outage at Newark Liberty International Airport last week. And what did they say? They were out, well, that communications were out for, what was it, 90 seconds? We have really old infrastructure in America. It hasn't been updated in the last 30 to 40 years. This should have been dealt with in the last administration. They did nothing, said Sean Duffy. Newark Airport has received more than $170 million in federal funds for runways, taxiways, safety, and sustainability projects, as well as terminal, airport, transit connections, and roadway projects since 2022. But a fried piece of copper wire sparked a temporary radar and communications blackout for air traffic controllers overseeing the second busiest airport in New York metro area on April the 28th, leaving those in the tower unable to see, hear, or talk to planes in the sky. Newark Airport has experienced hundreds of flight cancellations and thousands of delays since the disruption. They were saying some people, there's kind of strikes that caused the delay. Some people out for over 45 days because of mental health issues. The primary communication line went down, the backup line didn't fire, and so for 30 seconds we lost contact with air traffic control. Okay, so Duffy's saying 30 seconds. Were planes going to crash? No, they have communication devices. They can see other air traffic. But it's a sign that we have a frail system in place and it has to be fixed. Duffy noted that while both communications lines are now working, less departures will be going out of Newark until we feel comfortable and safe that the system isn't going to go down again. He said he hopes to get all the airlines that fly out of Newark to participate in departure reduction efforts. I guess it's a real mess on the ground. Duffy pledged to fix the infrastructure problem that led to the chaos and teased an announcement coming later this week to, quote, radically transform air traffic control operations. We are going to radically transform the way air traffic control looks. We're going to build a brand new air traffic control system, from new telecom to new radars to new infrastructure. This has been a problem in the decades coming, and we're going to fix it. He added that President Trump loves talking airspace and airplanes and has brought into the plan set to be announced on Thursday. So there is a breaking news update. Duffy weighing in on that yesterday. Okay. I see we got some waves and some comments coming in. Well, thank you for that. We'll read those comments when we come back from break. We do have a couple of education updates. We also have some media updates I think are going to infuriate you. So you don't need that second cup of coffee if you're just joining us. Also, New York State issues, the budget, all of that and much more. And as I had mentioned, we're going to be talking with Dante Brown in the next hour. By the way, and this comes up in our interview, don't forget to help out an amazing cause and also get to meet some really cool celebrities. The Kyle Petty Charity Ride Across America is being held tomorrow at 3:45 at the Radisson. You can meet people like, there you see him, Richard Petty, Herschel Walker, get autographs, get photos, and donate to an amazing organization, Victory Junction, offering those camps to kids in need. So again, join us. I'm going to be there too. Join us at the Kyle Petty Charity Ride Across America. I'm not going to be riding, but I do want to see if we can talk to Herschel Walker. So that is tomorrow at 3:45. Wanted to highlight that. All right, we've got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We'll be right back.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
In the world's poorest places, children with cleft conditions live in darkness and shame. They're shunned, outcast, living in pain. You can reach out and change the life of a suffering child right now. A surgery that takes as little as 45 minutes. And your act of love can change a child's life forever. Please call or visit operationsmile.org now. Thousands of children are waiting.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car. Number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horsted's. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. A comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank, from the soggy fields of Caton. Yes, it is a rainy morning. Thanks for joining us in Caton. Yes, the Atlantic is right about pop culture. Music is unlistenable. Taylor Swift. Movies are repetitive, all CGI. And TV, except Frankly Speaking, unwatchable. Perhaps it was the Biden lockdown during COVID that is the root cause. If you are just joining us, a question from the Atlantic. Is this the worst ever era of American pop culture? And we did that in reference to everyone covering the Met Gala for whatever reason. Last night, I guess that's the biggest news story that they can find. But as we mentioned, a recent YouGov poll, Americans rate the 2020s as the worst decade in a century for music, movies, fashion, TV, and sports. So I'm asking you the question, do you agree? Do you disagree? All right, Trump tells Harvard no more money without a crackdown on anti-Semitism. In a lengthy letter to University President Alan Garber, Education Secretary Linda McMahon charged that Harvard has, quote, made a mockery of this country's higher education system, saying receiving such taxpayer funds is a privilege, not a right. Yet instead of using these funds to advance the education of its students, Harvard is engaging in a systemic pattern of violating federal law. Where do many of these students come from? Who are they? How do they get into Harvard or even into our country? And why is there so much hate? These are questions that must be answered among many more. But the biggest question of all, why will Harvard not give straightforward answers to the American public? Again, reiterating that Harvard has made a mockery of the higher education system. Again, Harvard thinking that this fight is beneficial to them. Well, they did at first, and they still may, but they thought for their brand that this fight against the Trump administration would be better for them in the long run. And then Trump started throwing around ideas like ending their tax-exempt status. And then I think they started to see maybe fighting for the anti-Semitic protest wasn't the winning route. McMahon slammed the school for adopting an embarrassing remedial math program for undergraduates, questioning why a school that's so difficult to get admitted to has to teach low-level mathematics. She called Harvard out for being embroiled in plagiarism scandals and lambasted the school for allowing Harvard University and the Harvard Law Review to engage in ugly racism. McMahon blasted Harvard for hiring former Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York and Lori Lightfoot of Chicago to teach leadership at its School of Public Health. That is like hiring the captain of the Titanic to teach navigation to future captains of the sea. The above concerns are only a fraction of the long list of Harvard's consistent violations of its own legal duties. Given these and other concerning allegations, this letter is to inform you that Harvard should no longer seek grants from the federal government since none will be provided. Harvard will cease to be a publicly funded institution and can instead operate as a privately funded institution, drawing on its colossal endowment and raising money from its large base of wealthy alumni. You have an approximately $53 billion head start, much of which was made possible by the fact that you are living within the walls of and benefiting from the prosperity secured by the United States of America and its free market system you teach your students to despise. What a great letter. She does a great job. In closing, the proposed common sense reforms, which the administration remains committed to, include a return to merit-based admissions and hiring, an end to unlawful programs that promote crude identity stereotypes, disciplinary reform, and consistent accountability, including for student groups cooperation with law enforcement, and reporting compliance with the Department of Education, Department of Homeland Security, and other federal agencies. The administration's priorities have not changed, and today's letter marks the end of new grants for the university. Now, Harvard confirmed that it received the letter to Fox News, saying, "Today we received another letter from the administration doubling down on demands that would impose unprecedented and improper control over Harvard University, and would have chilling implications for higher education. Today's letter makes new threats to illegally withhold funding for life-saving research and innovation in retaliation against Harvard for filing its lawsuit on April 21st. Isn't it amazing how many things are illegal? Did you know it was illegal not to give taxpayer funds to a university that is pushing this anti-Semitism? Harvard will continue to comply with the law, promote and encourage respect for viewpoint diversity, and combat anti-Semitism in our community. Harvard will also continue to defend against illegal government overreach aimed at stifling research and innovation that makes America safer and more secure." We'll see where this is headed. Harvard has refused to comply to the demands. They believe that is the winning battle. That is, as the old saying goes, the hill to die on. That is worth the fight in their mind. And we know that there's now a lawsuit underway. So no more money without a crackdown on anti-Semitism. In every way, Harvard has failed to abide by its legal obligations as ethical and fiduciary duties, its transparency responsibilities, and any semblance of academic rigor. In response to reports that the university was offering a year-long course in basic math, promising to target foundational skills in algebra, geometry, and quantitative reasoning, McMahon said, "Who is getting in under such a low standard when others with fabulous grades and a great understanding of the highest levels of mathematics are being rejected?" This was a fantastic speech. I'm sure you can find the full, letter. I'm sure you can find the full thing yourself. This is kind of the Cliff Notes version, if you will. On a press call ahead of the letter's release, a senior education department official told reporters that McMahon had identified Harvard as deficient in 4 areas: anti-Semitism, racial discrimination, abandonment of rigor, and viewpoint diversity. To become eligible for new grants, Harvard would need to enter negotiations with the federal government and prove it has satisfied the administration's demands. The official explaining the Trump administration won't stand by as taxpayer dollars are being used to support colleges that tolerate anti-Semitism or that support racist policies. So there is your update on a, how am I doing on time? Good. On an ongoing news story, the one that we have discussed quite in depth on this program. We're going through a lot of topics this morning. Kind of piggybacking off of that, the Department of Education resumed collections on defaulted federal student loans. That started yesterday. I hope that doesn't make too many of you nervous in the audience. And reminded colleges and universities of their shared responsibility to ensure taxpayers are on the hook for unpaid debts. Collections for the school loans, for the debt, has been on pause since March of 2020. This is now May of 2025. And the restart is expected to impact roughly 5.3 million borrowers currently in default on their federal student loans. Linda McMahon saying, "As we begin to help defaulted borrowers back into repayment, we must also fix a broken higher education finance system that has put upward pressure on tuition rates without ensuring that colleges and universities are delivering a high-value degree to students. For too long, insufficient transparency and accountability structures have allowed U.S. universities to saddle students with enormous debt loads without paying enough attention to whether their own graduates are truly prepared to succeed in the labor market." We've talked about that, where you have these institutes of higher education having no problem giving you a major in, what was the one that the protester had? 19th century socialist poetry or something. It was so outlandish, but that was an actual major. On Monday, approximately 195,000 defaulted student loan borrowers received a 30-day notice from the Department of Treasury informing them that their federal benefits will be subjected to the Treasury Offset Program, which collects debts by garnishing federal and state payments, such as federal tax refunds. Offsets will begin in early June according to the Education Department. And later this summer, all 5.3 million defaulted borrowers will receive a notice from Treasury that their earnings will be subjected to administrative wage garnishment. On the same day collections resumed, McMahon issued a Dear Colleague letter to institutions of higher education, reminding them that their obligation to support loan borrowers under the Higher Education Act of 1965. Although borrowers have the primary responsibility for repaying their student loans, institutions play a key role in the department's ongoing efforts to improve loan repayment outcomes, especially as the cost of college, set solely by institutions, has continued to skyrocket. The Education Secretary asked universities to refocus and expand efforts at advising and counseling students on borrowing money from the federal government and to provide clear and accurate information about repayment to borrowers through entrance and exit counseling. There you go. That is another update from the Department of Education. Very busy. Again, we're asking the question that The Atlantic is asking this morning. Is this the worst ever era of American pop culture? We got a couple of media updates, some New York State updates. Stick with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you think boots, think Hesselsen's. Hesselsen's has the largest selection of work boots in the area. Composite and steel-toe boots, Met-Guard boots, soft-toe boots, and hikers, duty and western boots, all in one location. Hesselsen's at Meyer Heights. Hesselsen's has men's and ladies' boots in all sizes and widths. Choose from the largest names in the industry: Danner, Carolina, Timberland Pro, Keen Utility, Thorogood, Area, and Georgia, to name just a few. Hesselsen's has been locally owned and operated since 1955, so when you think local service and great selection, think Hesselsen's. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
Catch Twin local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselsen studio here, Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Who would have thought they would see the day when an institution like Harvard would feel it is beneficial to dig its own grave? Yes, they feel that the fight against Trump stays on their brand, makes them part of the resistance. They think that will benefit them in the long run. We know that it's hurt in some alumni donations, but maybe in other ways they made it up. But yes, I didn't think we'd see the day, but it makes sense. They've been in their academic bubble for so long. They believe they're untouchable. That's why they believe it's illegal not to receive this exorbitant amount of taxpayer dollars, or at least do so with no strings attached. So yes, I agree. Comment from Ken. Did you have the opportunity to watch the entire Trump-Welker interview? Several things were cut from what NBC aired. I think the most interesting was that when Welker accused Trump of profiting from his presidency and specifically referenced crypto. The conversation also included that Trump donated his salary in his first term and will do it in this term also. Trump went on to tell Welker that Pelosi was worth $150 to $200 million on a $175,000 a year salary, and asked her why she isn't looking into that and other politicians' crooked activities. Just more examples of our corrupt legacy media. And now they meet the letter of the law by providing the entire interview online, but don't air the damaging truth. They know that most people won't take the time to go online and read the complete version. No, that's absolutely right, Ken. They know that some people don't even take the time to watch the whole interview when it was broadcast, let alone read the transcript. But they're doing that to cover their you-know-whats. But this is just another example of this legacy media and the corruption. And even the way, and I think that's so glaring, something as minuscule, if you will, as the the body language and the anger displayed by these people doing the interview, the interrupting, you do know that kind of lecturing to the President of the United States or to the Vice President of the United States, depending on which interviews that you are watching. And then you see that compared to, well, really the lack of interviews by the Biden administration. But even when there was question and answers or interviews, it was such things as, what do you like to do with the grandkids? What's your favorite ice cream? There's none of that pushback. And this isn't creating a narrative. They've admitted it. They were proud of the fact that during the presidential debate between Trump and Harris, that they had practiced fact-checking President Trump, but not Harris. That they were prepared to interject and interrupt the President of the United States with these quote-unquote fact checks that so often are not facts at all. That is the most frustrating part. But it's also just from a pure interview standpoint. Let's put aside politics. It is such bad form and really unattractive for the viewer. I don't care if you love Trump or you hate Trump. When you have this kind of interjection, the condescension, it doesn't make for an interview. It's making that person who's doing the interview, in this case Welker, but in numerous instances throughout the last few years, it's trying to make the story about them. Jim Acosta was probably the poster child for that, but it's trying to make the story about them. They're looking for that gotcha moment where other corrupt legacy media outlets are forced to show that clip. But as from a viewer standpoint, it becomes very difficult to watch at some point. I have a couple other examples, such as, which will tie in perfectly with what you said, Ken. I don't know if you saw the 60 Minutes from over on Sunday. I didn't get a chance to watch it until yesterday, a little too late for me. But 60 Minutes ran a piece. We're going to talk about that in the next segment, but also maybe a little bit into the second hour. Yes, it's already coming up on second hour time. We got one more break. Wrap up hour number one. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are wrapping up our number one, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Got a couple of quick media updates because it ties in perfectly with what Ken had to say about the Meet the Press interview with the president. 60 Minutes ran a highly partisan segment likening President Trump to a mob boss. Now, this obviously coming off of the news of that lawsuit, because we know that they selectively edited that interview with Kamala Harris, refused to give up the transcript, et cetera, et cetera. And then we had Scott Pelley the weekend before saying that the ouster of his boss stepping down, was bad for journalism. he recently accused his bosses at Paramount of restricting journalistic independence in an astonishing on-air rant, but apparently not that much if they're allowing him to go on a highly partisan rant about President Trump, likening him to a cold-blooded mob boss. The fact is that these law firms are being told, if you don't play ball with us, maybe something really bad will happen to you. Then he sat down with Mark Ellis, a longtime rival of Trump and a former Perkins Coie partner hired by the Kamala Harris 2024 presidential campaign, in what was a one-sided segment. Quote, Donald Trump is the walking embodiment of everything that is wrong with the American political system. And so when Donald Trump says I am unethical or that I am undermining his vision of America, I say, boy, I must be doing something right. Sunday's scathing 60 Minutes segment comes as Paramount Global is in talks to settle its high-stakes lawsuit with the president. Lawyers for Paramount and Trump have started mediation to resolve the president's $20 billion lawsuit against the network over how 60 Minutes edited a sit-down with then Vice President and presidential candidate Kamala Harris last fall. The talks are also taking place as Paramount seeks approval of its merger with Skydance from the Federal Communications Commission, which also is probing the Harris interview for complaints of news distortion. While 60 Minutes brought out guests critical of the president, they did not feature even a single guest arguing in favor of Trump's orders against law firms. Last week, Pelly went rogue at the end of Sunday night's episode during what appeared to be a simple tribute to Bill Owens, the longtime 60 Minutes executive producer. Bill resigned Tuesday. It was hard on him and hard on us. But he did it for us and you. This is how egotistical the media is. He did it for you. Our parent company, Paramount, is trying to complete a merger. Paramount boss Sherry Redstone allegedly has expressed concerns to CBS CEO George Cheeks over segments critical of Trump and his policies, asking if the program could wait to run them until after the merger. So a one-sided, not a single interview in support of Trump's policies on 60 Minutes, just proving again why the media has lost all credibility. But again, they don't see it because they're so egotistical. Think about what he said there. He stepped down for us, but for you. They think, and it goes back to what we've talked about so much with Woodward and Bernstein and Watergate, they think they have the most important job, that they are the most important people, that they can change your mind. I know they're supposed to be reporting news, but they can change your mind and convince you to be a far-left Democrat and help them bring down the president of the United States. So much so CNN even receiving a ton of criticism for this. CNN interviewing a Sonora cartel gang member and then asking that gang member how he felt about Trump labeling him a terrorist. It backfired, by the way, but just to show you that nothing is off limits in an attempt to try to get Trump. And that's exactly what Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes did here. They're showing that there's no journalistic integrity. This is now the time to get Trump. We're going to talk about that in the next hour. Also in the next hour, we're going to talk with our good friend, Fox News' own, Big Fox News' own, Dante Brown. He's going to tell us about his time here on the news at 10 o'clock news and now at 5 a.m. right before this broadcast. Okay, stay with us. We'll read your comments in the next hour. This is Frankly Speaking.
AI is the next big thing, a tool of unlimited possibilities.
It's going to change everything.
Actually, at William Attar, we've been using AI for over 35 years.
What?
AI, attorney intelligence. It's how we use our legal minds to recover millions of dollars for our clients in motor vehicle cases. Hurt in a car? Call William Attar and put our attorney intelligence to work for you. 444-4444.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
It's the 20 cardboard boat regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025.
Hey, this is John Tree Service. We are locally owned and insured and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. John's Tree Service, your source for all your tree needs, where customer satisfaction is our guarantee. Give us a call today at 607-377-6513.
The Twin Tiers first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We were talking about the media, their lack of credibility. We'll read a comment here from a viewer. The thing about the Welker interview was Welker seemed a bit angry or unhappy. She just couldn't get the results she wanted. Also, she was completely wrong about the Fifth Amendment. Yeah, she does seem angry. They very often seem angry, very condescending as well. And she wasn't getting, just like in that interview with CNN being mocked, they had a sympathetic interview. Get this, sympathetic interview, asking a Mexican cartel gang member how he felt about President Trump branding them as terrorists. The left-wing outlet, CNN, aired the stunning interview with the masked Sinaloa cartel gang member on Saturday after Trump vowed to clamp down on the murderous drug trafficking group and the stream of fentanyl. According to the Trump administration, you are a terrorist. What do you make of that? Said Isabel Young of CNN. What do you make of that? The gang member, who was heavily covered up so you couldn't find out who he was, he said, well, the situation is ugly, but we have to eat. Now, this is what's interesting, because they wanted this guy, for whatever reason, they thought this would be good journalism. They wanted this gang member, this cartel member, to criticize Trump. I don't know what they thought that would get them, but these are the same groups that are siding with Abrego Garcia in El Salvador. So they said, well, what would you say to Trump? That old chestnut, not actually coming up with a question, just what do you feel? How do you? He said, my respect. According to him, he's looking out for his people. So saying he gives his respect to Donald Trump because Trump is looking out for his people. But the problem is the consumers are in the United States. If there weren't any consumers, we would stop. Needless to say, CNN was instantly ridiculed on social media. One person writing, CNN is in full meltdown mode. All their usual smear tactics have failed again. So what's their next brilliant move? Interviewing Sinaloa cartel member. They were clearly hoping for a Trump is evil soundbite. Instead, total backfire, where he actually says his respect for the president. Another person mockingly saying, not the answer the Communist News Network was hoping for. So CNN is concerned about hurting the cartel's feelings? This isn't the flex they think it is. It's offensive to Americans. Unbelievably, CNN gives Sinaloa cartel members a chance to throw a pity party about being labeled a terrorist. But the cartel members tell them President Trump is just rightly looking after his people. So there's one example, after example, after example of how the media has lost their credibility. Here's another. On MSNBC, they were forced to walk back an outlandish statement they made yesterday. This was making the rounds. I actually had it in my stack of papers to bring up on the program yesterday. We ran out of time. I think it was, it must have been. Well, one of the anchors, Jonathan Lemire at MSNBC, had to walk back a claim made by a contributor about Kash Patel. On the Morning Joe, they had to circle back to a segment that was done on Friday with Frank Figliuzzi. He's NBC News and MSNBC's senior national security analyst. He alleged that the Bureau, the FBI, was dissolving into, do you know the word? What do you think it was dissolving into? Chaos. Quote, well, reportedly he's been, meaning Kash Patel, been visible at nightclubs far more than he's been on the 7th floor of the Hoover building. So this is both a blessing and a curse, because if he's really trying to run things without his experience, without any experience level, things could be bad. If he's not plugged in, things could be bad. But he's allowing agents to run things, so we don't know where this is going. Now, Lemire yesterday pulled back, offering a disclaimer about the Wild nightclub story, saying this was a misstatement. We have not verified that claim. A misstatement? Did that sound like a misstatement to you? Yes, on the facts level of it, it's a misstatement. But he knew exactly what he was trying to do and what he was trying to say to get that rumor out there and have that rumor stick. They've done the same thing with Pete Hegseth over and over. And he, yes, of course, said the only word that he could describe at the FBI to describe what's happening in the building is chaos. We need to get these people thesauruses. Okay, we're going to talk about New York State issues, but feel free to weigh in on the media at any point this morning. We also, if you're just joining us on the program, we asked a question. This is coming from the Atlantic because I know many outlets right now are showing you photo after photo from the Met Gala because that, I guess, greatly affects your day-to-day life. We are not going to do that here. But they asked the question at the Atlantic, is this the worst ever era of American pop culture? Okay. Oh, I had a quick announcement. So the Moose Club, we have been promoting their Cinco de Derby event where all the money raised was going to Potter's Hands. It was a fun event. Full disclosure, I attended. I had a great time. I always have a great time ever since their Wienerville event for the Salvation Army. I know I want to go to as many of these as I can. Great food, just fun, talking with everybody, a lot of fun raffles and giveaways. Well, I found out yesterday that event for the Potter's Hands, a fundraiser for the Potter's Hands, raised $1,700 for Potter's Hands. So congratulations to Potter's Hands, and big kudos and a big pat on the back to our friends at the Moose Lodge. Great on you for doing these. There's other ones coming up for Bampus House, Wreaths Across America, backpacks, and school supplies for local schools. We'll keep you updated on those as they are set in stone with dates and times and what the event will look like. But don't take my word for it. Attend. You'll have as much fun as I did. And thank you to everybody who was at the club, who said that they watched, frankly speaking. I do appreciate it. Okay, so we've been talking about the town halls that I don't believe our representatives should be holding. Because Mike Lawler has been holding town halls, and every time it is used as really, there's no reward because they're being used as a way to criticize him or to criticize the Trump administration. That's why I continue to say that the town halls are not done in good faith, because they're not going there to have the conversation. These people who are demanding town halls, and they do it in a very smug, condescending way, in a way that's kind of, when is the congressperson going to hold an in-person town hall event, as if they don't know the answer to it already. So it is it's not done in good faith. They want the videos of booing and hissing and yelling and maybe being dragged out, which is exactly what happened at Mike Lawler's event. The Hill reports Mike Lawler's event ends with boos and removal. It also raised questions about President Trump before some were removed by law enforcement. See, now they're making it sound like Mike Lawler, who is potentially a candidate for governor, it's making him look as if he doesn't want to take the questions. They're setting this up so they can get the viral videos. This is exactly, unfortunately, what they want. And I believe representatives that hold town halls are playing right into their hands. Lawler's office required attendees to RSVP and set up ground rules, including that they live in the lawmaker's district, do not record the event, refrain from shouting or standing, and be respectful of one another, staff members, and the representative, Mr. Mike Lawler. So again, this sounds like a suggestion that someone made on this program last week, that there should be ground rules and that we should hold the town halls. And as I said at the time, the ground rules will not be followed. That is not why they are holding these. It's just like the mock town halls where they'll have an empty chair trying to represent the representative. They would be disappointed if the congressperson actually attended, because they don't want that. It's all about these cliche, trite, overdone political optics. Some Republican lawmakers have shifted away from hosting town hall events in their districts. Lawler, who has floated the idea of running for governor, has sought to speak with voters and host town halls against advice from the Republican Party. Sunday's event was his second in recent memory, and more are scheduled in the future. It was unclear what caused the event to spiral, according to the news service, but at one point Lawler was responding to a question about Trump's tariff plan when security and law enforcement surrounded a woman. The crowd chanted to let her stay, but she was picked up and carried out of the auditorium. So now he looks like a a thug, that he doesn't want the tough questions. According to a video shared online by ABC News, I thought there was no filming. Are you telling me that the ground rules have been broken? The woman told security she was not leaving. Law enforcement later picked her up, and the crowd erupted in boos. The woman held up a peace sign with her fingers. "This is anti-democratic," one person shouted. Others yelling, "Shame, shame." Lawler and his staff tried to rein in the crowd, but attendees drowned them out in the video clip, which ends with Lawler saying, "Folks, terrorists are way more complicated than you," before it cuts off. Well, I thought one of the ground rules that we were told people would follow if there was just ground rules set up was no taping. But yeah, here he is in a viral video making him look like the bad guy for holding a town hall meeting. So what is it? You want him to hold one, or you want to make him look like a bad guy for holding one? Lawler's spokesperson said the attendee was asked to leave after repeatedly engaging in abusive and combative behavior with staff and disrupting nearby attendees. I don't think for a moment the staff about their safety. That's one of the reasons why I don't believe that these should be held, because for whatever reason, these groups really have no problem going after the staffers as well. Video shows woman hauled out. So now they use that loaded language to, again, make Lawler look bad for holding the town halls that they demand he holds. The first crack emerged when Lawler, in his opening remarks, told the packed-out prep school auditorium, "This is what democracy looks like." Laughter crept through the crowd. A little while later, the congressman's mention of federal health secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. drew loud jeers. So you want, for instance, petroleum-based dyes to continue? They do. Lawler, let's not be naive here. I like Mike Lawler. I'm not saying it like that. But if Donald Trump and RFK Jr. Want to get rid of petroleum-based dyes, then yes, the left is now for petroleum-based dyes. And we saw that in the media. We saw the media saying, well, there is no evidence that these dyes cause any health issues. And also, it could cost consumers with an increase in price. Now, keep in mind, too, Lawler is a moderate. He's not some right-wing, hardcore MAGA person. He's very moderate. And this is the reaction that he gets. They're not respectful to him. They're not respectful to his staffers. So again, videotaped, even though they were told not to. He claims to be available to constituents, but he isn't. What was that then? What was the town hall? Again, getting criticism from people in the crowd, and that's a normal talking point. He's not open to his constituents. He held the town hall and you shouted him down so he couldn't get a word in edgewise. What you want is you want him to say exactly what you believe. Exactly what you want him to denounce Trump. So that's what he gets for holding a town hall. Punishment, essentially. All right, we got to take a short break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We are going to talk with Dante Brown from Big Fox News at 10. Coming up here in just a few moments. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
Shell Missy face off in.
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
Catch Twins local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything.
As always, we thank our friends at Boss Security in Horseheads for bringing us that beautiful view of historic Market Street. Contact Boss Security today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments, and coming up in just a little bit, we are going to be talking with Dante Brown from Big Fox News at 10, who's also on at 5 o'clock in the morning before this program. That's a new edition that we have on Big Fox. Okay, comments from viewers. The cartel interview with CNN, for all we know, it was a paid actor in a studio in New York City. I would normally tend to agree with you, but the fact that he did not give the answers they wanted prove, I think, that it is actually a cartel member. But yes, if he would have denounced Trump and had it be a pity party where it looked as if it's unfair, we're not terrorists, then I would agree with you. Comment from a different viewer. Okay, idea: do virtual town hall meetings where questions are submitted, he reads them, or they are read to him, and he answers a question and posts it on the internet. Well, that's a great idea, but that does not appease the protesters. That does not appease the far left and these groups like Indivisible. And the reason I say that is because if you look at Congressman Langworthy holds teletown halls where people can call in and ask questions. And even that was, I understand, kind of hijacked the last go-around. But that's exactly what happened. They posted online in case you missed it. The questions were there. The answers were there. And there's still, they'll ask, when is he going to do an in-person town hall meeting? It's not about, that's why it's not done in good faith. It's not about asking him the questions and getting to the answers of why he voted some way or not, or why he supports Trump or not. It's about screaming at him, shouting him down, yelling at his staffers. That's why we see so many headlines about the Mike Lawler town hall. So yes, what you have is a good idea, but it will not appease these far left groups, because what they want at the end of the day is this viral video of him getting yelled at, screamed at, called names, staffers being called names and bullied. That's what they want. So that's why I say I don't think they should be done, because they're not asking for this in good faith. They know exactly what they want, and they're going to get it if they have an in-person town hall. Okay, quickly on New York State issues, and then we've got to go to our interview with Dante. Governor Kathy Hochul has dismissed Representative Elise Stefanik's potential run for governor, saying boldly, bring it on. Now, this is an example, again, of Governor Hochul trying to act tough, coming off quite the opposite, kind of, and I know this word is used way too frequently, overused, but very cringeworthy. The Democrat governor was adamant she wasn't worried about potentially facing off against Stefanik. Now, many believe in the media and elsewhere that Stefanik is the strongest position to take down Hochul and become the first Republican governor in nearly 20 years. Hochul said, I look forward to that fight, no matter who it is. I'm not settled yet, but I say bring it on. Hochul, too, claimed that any GOP challenger would be in for a tough fight because President Trump has tainted the GOP party's reputation in New York, even though we know he made huge inroads in New York. Donald Trump has made sure that the Republican Party brand is so tainted in New York that no matter who runs against him, they will have the baggage. Explaining why people's prices went up, why they lost health care, why they lost Medicaid, why they lost education. All the fun tax breaks for the wealthiest. See, this is what I mean. She can't even get the cliche talking points out succinctly and in a appropriate fashion. All the cliche talking points over here over and over and over, and she couldn't even get those right. Stefanik, I've got to make this note, has yet to officially throw her hat in the ring, but noted over the weekend she was strongly considering it. In an exclusive interview with the New York Post, She rattled off a slew of day one priorities for a potential term, including tax, education, crime, immigration, and energy. Quote, unlike Kathy Hochul, who was defeated after one term in Congress, we have a record of winning, not just Republicans, but winning independents and a fair percentage of Democrats. She later took a shot at Hochul in a Fox News interview, saying New Yorkers, not just Republicans, but independents and Democrats as well, are yearning for a new generation of leadership to bring common sense back to our state. So absolutely, I'm taking a hard look at it. And the outpouring of support has been tremendous. And Kathy Hochul is the worst governor in America. On that note, we've got a couple other New York issues, but we want to hear from our buddy Dante Brown. A comment from a viewer. I realize it's not done in good faith, meaning the town halls. But at least people who are really interested in ideas and where he stands could get the information. Yes, I agree. No, I agree with you. That's why I would recommend, and I don't know when the next one is. If I hear, I will make sure to bring it to you. But if you're specifically referencing Congressman Nick Langworthy, he does hold teletown halls about once a month probably, give or take. So you have that opportunity there. You can ask questions, potentially ask questions. I don't think everybody is chosen, but potentially ask questions. You get to hear his response, and it's done in a more controlled setting, so it's not the constant shouting down where you're just wasting your time and not learning anything, wasting your time, not getting the answers that you were hoping for. Okay, we got to take a break. Then Dante Brown, when we come back, this is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And joining us in the Hesselson studio, we have Big Fox's own Dante Brown. Good morning, Dante.
Oh man, this is like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, you excited about being on Frankly Speaking?
I mean, isn't that the biggest thing ever? I go out in public every day, and people are like, "Oh, you know Frank."
Yeah. Well, thanks. Is this the butter me up to ask easy questions?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Of course, a true professional like Frank only asks, only sends splitters to the right corner.
That's right. So Dante, tell us a little bit, for those that aren't aware of you. You've been here for how long now?
A year. So
a little over
last
a year.
February made a year.
Wow.
I got here like maybe early last February, right before the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of one of the first things I remember doing. I walked in, and you were at the front desk.
That's right.
legendary Joe is up top, Joe and Scott.
Yelling about football.
Yeah, so it's been a good year. I've had fun. You learn a lot about, like, this is one of those places, I'm going to be honest, you kind of don't know exist until you kind of see it.
Sure.
And, before I got up here, or when I got up here last year, everybody was like, oh, you just missed, like, a good winner. Like, it was a decent winner. And I was like,
well, where are you from?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I grew up in Florida. I grew up in this place called Altamont Springs.
Okay.
Not a lot of people will know where that's at, but it's like 15 or 20 minutes, like a suburb right outside Orlando. Yeah. So, I mean.
You haven't taken to the winter.
No, absolutely not. This is no. I don't know how you guys do it. The snow is, when you see snow as a kid, I think we talked about this, when you see snow as a kid, you're like, oh, it looks so cool. You get like your snow days, you throw snowballs or whatever. And then I got up here and I walked out my apartment and I almost fell 2 minutes in, and I was like, you know what, man, this is, once you make the first like 2 snowballs and you throw them at the apartment door, you're like, whoa,
that's enough.
I was like, well, I guess that's over now.
Now, Dante, did you always want to get into journalism?
No, as a kid I played football and I was like, well, you see me now, I'm like tall. Yeah. And like I'm like tall now, but as a kid I was really tiny. So once I got to like 9th grade, I was still like 5'4" and like sub 125 pounds. I was like, maybe this football thing isn't for me. And the coach was like, love Coach Diesel. He was like the guys love you. Like, I mean, the people on the team still love you. Like, even if you don't play. So like, the guys love you. Like, just come out and like film a couple games for us. And then, so once I started doing that, I filmed a couple games. I was like, I can kind of see a future in that. I didn't know if I was going to do journalism specifically, but I knew I still wanted to be involved, like in sports and like in the camera, moving around every day. I'm not built for sitting in the 9-to-5 office and like.
And that's not how news is.
No, absolutely not. You are moving around almost all day.
And I want to find out what a typical day is like here in just a moment. But where did you go to school?
I went to a place called Full Sail University. So this is right outside. This is Winter Park. So this is also like right outside of Orlando. For people who know where like UCF is, this is like 25-30 minutes away. It's basically a media school. So I went for sports broadcasting. It's called the Dan Patrick School of Sports Broadcasting. So you meet a ton of great teachers there who have a bunch of years in the industry. Gus Ramsey is like he's kind of like the head of the program, and he has a ton of years at ESPN, and he's filled out the staff with a bunch of people who have 15, 20 years in the industry. And then some people who are still like one of our teachers, Mike Tuck, I didn't want to blank on his name, but he's one of my favorite teachers. He still worked in radio like as he was teaching us. So he kind of could tell us, well, we did this, and like, coming up it was like this, but nowadays it's more different. Things like that are kind of why I think, I don't want to like make an ad for the school, but like that's why I think that school was more fit for me. Especially we got a lot of more hands-on, like we did stuff outside, turned on the camera. They had a whole studio to make sure we got our reps in, so you could come to the studios. They had open what they called IL sessions, which is interactive learning or integrated learning. You kind of just get in there and build out a show plan. So A block, B block, C block, kind of what you would have built out. Yeah. And we run it all. You run it all as if you were running the actual studio. So you'll have somebody who's doing the camera A, camera B.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you'll have the guy behind the desk. They tried to get me to direct one time. Probably wasn't built for directing. I liked Chris, last name I don't know. He was just Chris in the program.
Sure.
But he was great. He's always in the studio. I promised him it was 24/7. Like if you walked in there, he was in there, and he's always. At first, he's kind of like distant from you, but once you go through the program and he sees you like putting in a little bit of effort, he grows on you, and stuff like that is kind of why I enjoy the program. You get a real sense of like family and growing up.
Did you find it difficult to translate from more of a sports emphasis to more of a news emphasis now?
Yes. The biggest difference for me was coming out of school. We're taught to like find the story in sports. I think it's a lot easier to find a story in sports because you have a stat sheet. Right. And you have so much you already know going into that. We'll just be like, okay, well, he had 22, and if you watch the game, well, he played well on defense, and you kind of know that. Versus like news, we come in, and you can like have an email or have a headline or something, what you want to do, but you don't know the actual, you may not have the full story behind it.
And Dante Brown can be seen on Big Fox News at 10 and now at 5 a.m. right before this broadcast. What does your typical day look like?
Wake up anywhere between 7 to 8, get ready. I'm like 10 or 15 minutes away from the studio, so I come in, check your emails, kind of check your headlines, see if there's anything major that might have happened overnight that we missed, or when we come back in on Mondays, if there's anything major over the weekends we didn't get a chance to cover or we didn't see, we kind of go back and review that, and then call the news director, kind of pitch what stories we have the idea for today, get a yay or nay, and then by 10:15, 10:30, you want to be out on the road at least getting B-roll.
Sure.
We're going to use words that people may not know, but you get your B-roll for your VOs usually. So a VO is like a voiceover for people that don't know. That's just usually when you see there's like no sound bites or anything else on the screen. It's just the person talking over it. Those are usually a bit easier for us to get because it's just a video. And then depending on what the day is like, I'll example this from something we did a while back. So when the Debbie stuff was happening, we would leave here probably around 10:15 to get to PA or get to wherever got affected by Debbie.
Sure.
Probably by like 11, and then after that you're getting B-roll. During that time we were stopping and talking to people whose houses were affected, trying to get like a sense of where the community is at, where the people are at. Is this going to be a town that's going to talk to you? Maybe maybe this is more like a recluse city, versus are these these more outgoing people. You really have some. I think one thing that shocked me is how many people will like invite you in.
Sure.
Just because maybe maybe not just because they see you out and they're like, well, that kid is probably not doing anything wrong.
Right.
So,
right.
And there's of course the opposite end of the spectrum where people who don't know what you're doing, they're like, this guy's just out with a big old camera.
Right.
So, yeah, usually a day like that, I kind of went off, but try to get everything in, try to get back in the studio get back in here by 2:30, 3 o'clock. Get your script kind of planned out, know that you have everything. After we get everything sent in, probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock, we're getting our articles and things done.
Sure.
And pretty much wrap up the day. And if there's something maybe later in the day, we'll stay around and get some video for that.
Where do you get your passion to find stories and to kind of fill out the news at 10 and now at 5?
Interest. For me, a lot of it, especially the first year, was just learning the area. Like I didn't know.
Sure.
You don't know what you don't know, right? So like I hadn't been to Horseheads, I hadn't been to Elmira. Sure. I knew very little about Corning.
Right.
And I stay in Painted Post, so just exploring, getting a bigger, in like a video game sense, how when the map is kind of darked out, you kind of learn new spots.
Okay.
So
that's a good way of putting it.
The first year that was like, oh man, well, I'm just seeing new stuff, learning new things, and then kind of towards the second year, it's been able to see growth, like rechecking what I did, working, making sure like the stuff is coming out a little bit better than it did. You can compare some stuff, like there's events that happened last year that come around again this year. You can kind of compare what you did and
always improve yourself.
Yeah, just making sure you're trying to take that next step. So I think my biggest passion for it now is just knowing, like learning about the area. There's a lot of good stories to tell, and then the community is big. Like this is a very.
Do you have a favorite part of our area now that you've been here for a little while?
Depends on the time of the year. Okay, yeah. So Watkins Glen has a special place in my heart because of the race weekend.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Thought the race weekend it's one of the reasons I was like so excited to stay. I was like, I get another chance to do race weekend. In terms of like everyday stuff, I'm usually in Elmira. If I'm like have a day off, I'm in Elmira, or I'm at home. No free promo, but the Juice Collective is like a place I visit all the time. They're like close to me now.
Okay.
They're like, that's one of the community members I've gotten really close with. So I'd say Elmira, Ithaca. You go out there kind of on the weekend. They have some good places to eat. It's a lot more.
Something a little different.
Yeah, it's a little bit more bustling. I've gotten my way around New York State at this point between working and kind of getting out. Yeah. So I definitely say Corning is nice. I can't wait for the Glass Fest again. That's one of those things where I'm like, okay, how did I do it last year? And then we've got the new MJ, so I want to kind of see how she does it, and I want to compare her to mine. Her probably will be better than mine, but hers will probably be a bit better than mine was last year. But just being able to do it again.
And for those that aren't familiar, MMJ means multimedia journalist. Are you excited, since you have that sports background and that passion for sports, are you excited about the Kyle Petty stop at the Radisson on Wednesday?
Yes, I am. I wasn't a NASCAR person before last year, even though I was not too far from Daytona. But after you go to one race weekend, now I'm as we would say, I'm locked in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tapped into what's going on. So when she mentioned he was coming by, I did a little bit of research on who he is. He's an interesting guy, and I mean,
it's
that's
a great cause.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good cause, and I mean, who doesn't want to see a motorcycle come through town? I mean,
yeah, it's gonna be wild. So when you look back at your little over a year, do you have a favorite story? You've done so many. There's been so many different topics.
So this one's gonna it's a little bit, it's on the sadder end, but I was just happy that like she got to tell her story and kind of get it out. But when the Debbie stuff happened, we were over in this county, Knoxville County in PA. It's kind of a smaller, like, rural area, and it got hit really hard. And there was a lot of people who lost a lot of stuff. But one lady I met, she had maybe 3 or 4 kids, and she lost everything. Like, she let me in. The house was completely flooded. They lost their washer machine, got put up in a Salvation Army hotel. So in the sense that, like, I didn't have a lot of fun, seeing that, and
of
putting
course,
it together. But once it all came together, I was like, you know, that's what I think about when I think news. You know, it's a bit sad, but it's like, well, that's what's happening out in the real world. In terms of like fun stories, whenever they invite us to the fair, I'm a big fair guy.
Yeah.
So any chance at free cakes or like anything like that.
You had fun at the Steuben County Fair last year, right?
I did.
They're a blast. What do you find to be the most difficult part of your job?
Well, we're big on like trying to talk to real people. So
that's so difficult.
Yeah. So I hope that people see this. Like, when you see me out in public, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm a nice kid.
Yeah.
Like, I know,
Give me a quote, right?
Yeah, like, hey, throw a dog a bone. But between that and then sometimes time constraints, you know, there's some events that happen later on in the day just because of the nature of the area. And, you know, everybody works during the day.
Sure.
So there's some events I want to get to that are a little bit later in the day that I'm maybe not able to get the full story out of that I maybe thought I could. But it's like, well you
try.
We got there.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
There's time limits on everything.
Is there anything that surprised you about the job since you've come in here for a little over a year?
Besides the weather?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was all a bit of a surprise to me because it's my first job right out of college. Yeah. So I think the biggest surprise was just, honestly, I don't know if we can talk about other people, like how nice a lot of the people in the community
are.
You know, maybe they don't want to talk to a camera, but they'll talk to you. Like when you see them out in public, many people are really nice to you. Surprising thing about the job, I guess it was a little bit more like moving around in a smaller area than I would have guessed.
Sure. Yeah, because I mean, the Elmira Corning market's a big market, so you have a lot to pick from, even going as far as Cornell.
Yeah, and then you can get out to Watkins Glen. You can go out. You know, if you go further left, you're getting into Bath and Hornell. So getting those further out stories are really fun. I forgot what I was going to.
No, that's all right. That was a great answer. All right, we'll wrap up on this. Dante Brown's been our guest. Big Fox News at 10, and now at 5 a.m. right before this broadcast. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 is a lot.
Yeah. Do you want me to 5?
No, because in 10, I think this is a good question. In 10 years, I'd say hopefully I'm full-time in sports. I'll be 31 then, so maybe starting on a starting on a family. I'm pretty set to like. Yeah. I've got like in my head, I've got it like, okay, I can kind of build myself up 21 through 25, and then once we start getting into 25 through 30, we got to start locking in. So I think 31, I'll hopefully like be it. It's hard to say.
An adult?
I'll be an adult. Hopefully, I'll be like maybe one kid deep. Like hopefully have everything settled down in life. I'm just working in sports, whether that's on a local market or on a bigger stage. That's where my interest is. My biggest thing is like, as long as I've gotten better, right. Over the next like 10 years, hopefully over the next 2 years, you guys look back and see my stuff and it was like, oh, I mean, this sucks compared to what he's doing, now. And in 10 years, you can be like, well, I mean, everything sucked compared to what he's doing now. And ESPY, that's my biggest one. Even though we're at ESPN, I want an ESPY. You got to put it out there so that when I get it, they can come and pull up this clip, and I'll be back, Frank. Don't worry.
So I'll make it famous through you.
Yeah, Frank. When I get my ESPY, don't worry, I'll come back. We'll do the show again, and
they'll cut me out of it.
No, absolutely not. I'll make sure you're in. I'll give out the shout outs at the ESPY Awards.
That's a pretty lofty 10 years.
Yeah,
I don't think you have to come up with more.
I was going to say, I'm a big thinker, so.
Yeah. Well, so you've had a lot of fun being here at Big Fox then through the year.
I mean, absolutely. How could I not have fun with Frank and all the people
the whole
upstairs?
staff, of course.
So I'm just excited. We got any sports questions today?
I don't have any sports questions.
We didn't get a chance to talk about boxing, Frank.
No, we could have talked about boxing. I see Alvarez won over the weekend, but
I saw that too. Do you think, Frank? Okay, honestly, as a person who watches boxing, now it's time.
I haven't watched as much.
Understandably, as a person who's like a little bit older, and you watch like the golden ages of boxing. Seeing like YouTubers and like content creators get into it.
It's destroying the sport because, I mean, if you look at it with, it's destroying it in one way and building it up in another. But when it comes to pure boxing, it's not pure boxing, right? I mean, if you look at the Tyson fight with Paul, they changed the rules to benefit Paul. I mean, it was an exhibition. If you want to call it an exhibition, call it an exhibition. If you want to make the money, I'm all for it. But don't. I mean, those type of things shouldn't be on an official boxing record.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because Floyd Mayweather fought like Logan Paul, and I was like,
he was kind of the first person to do it. We're gonna have to yell at Zap because he doesn't know we're recording that interview.
Can Zap come in?
Yeah. No, but if you look at it like with Mayweather and going back to McGregor.
Yeah.
I mean, so that kind of kicked off, and they're just huge paydays. So I don't blame anybody for taking the payday, like Tyson, something like that. But I don't watch it like I would an actual, like a heavyweight fight.
Yeah, I understand that. Someone else fought. Pacquiao and Mayweather.
Yeah.
That was like, I was a kid for that.
Yeah,
but
that
like
was
as an
biggest.
adult.
Yeah.
He kind of ducked him. Like
he waited too long. Manny Pacquiao shouldn't have. Mayweather is brilliant at picking fighters when they're a different weight class and making them move weight classes, or getting them like Alvarez really young.
Really young.
Yeah, so he's really good at that.
He got Triple G like that too.
Yeah. So with Pacquiao, he waited until Pacquiao wasn't the Pacquiao he had been. I obviously watched that fight. Everybody talked about it as the biggest fight, but that would have been an amazing fight 5 years before then.
Yeah.
Maybe even 10.
But I feel like that was like where it kind of, I feel like that's where it pivoted. At least like in my eyes as a kid, that was where it pivoted to like, okay, this is probably more of a money thing than like for the love of boxing.
Yeah, there's not. Well, Mayweather, his whole career was done in a way to kind of keep his legacy going, for lack of a better word. He was a smart man. I still think Oscar De La Hoya beat him, but he got that decision. So there you go. That's enough on boxing. People are bored. Dante, thanks for giving us so much time. Best of luck with the news tonight, and we'll have to have you on again soon.
Just say the word, and I'll be back.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Are you or someone you love at risk of falling in the home? Did you know 80% of home falls happen in the bathroom? If you are still stepping over a tub to take a shower, please call Bath Planet for a free design service. Our certified design team will take all the measurements and work with you to design a bathroom that never has to sacrifice style for safety. Go with the company that people trust. Bath Planet, 2 locations serving the entirety of the Twin Tiers. Call today.
In a world of rising prices, Nissan is lowering them on our 2 most popular SUVs. The always adventure-ready Pathfinder and our best-selling Rogue, a Consumer Guide Best Buy 11 years in a row. From our U.S. factories to your driveway since 1983. Now get 3.9% APR for 60 months on Rogue, one of 6 Nissan vehicles with starting MSRP under $30,000.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We thank Dante for being on the program during our Steuben County Office for the Aging segment. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And you can catch Dante at 10 o'clock at night or right before this program. And we have a couple viewer comments. Hello, Dante. Do you miss the Florida weather? Well, I don't want to speak for Dante, but I think it's a resounding yes. He has not taken to the winter. I think he said that at the beginning of the interview. Did not quite expect what was to hit in the winter. Another question for Dante, or I guess more of a comment. Dante Brown is quite a professional young man. I hope that all of his dreams come true. Well, that is very nice. I will pass that along to Dante. And another comment from a viewer. First-time viewer. Well, hey, welcome. Enjoying a common sense local view on local and national issues. I just turned in 45 minutes ago, but enjoying your show. I'll need to get up earlier to check it out from the start. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad that you're a first-time viewer, and I hope a long-time viewer. So welcome to the party of Frankly Speaking. We really do appreciate it. Comment from a different viewer. Yes, bring it on, Miss Stephanie. Stefanik, I mean. Get your foot in the door and defeat Hochul. Yes, Elise Stefanik. Over the weekend, signaling that she is taking a very serious look at running for governor. She is the strongest candidate for the Republican ticket. If she were to jump into the race, it would be a very interesting battle between her and Hochul, and one that I would enjoy watching. Elise Stefanik, very talented, not just a politician, but candidate as well. But the fact of the matter is, that decision has to be made sooner rather than later. If you recall, Lee Zeldin made his announcement in April, the year before the election. So something to keep in mind. We're running a little bit later, but then in past years, you're talking way later before they announce. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Did you happen to see the photo of the bullet passing by Trump that was taken by a New York Times photographer? What an image. Yes, we talked about that very early in the program. That actually was, won a Pulitzer Prize. That was announced yesterday, that image winning a Pulitzer Prize. The viewer continues, I can't imagine what it would have done to our country if that bullet had hit its target. Yes, that was one of the conversations after the fact of just the damage it would do for and to the country. So yes, I appreciate your sentiment. Ken writes in, hello, Frank. Do you think the Dems will ever look at past performance and get the message, then put up qualified candidates that have their own ideas, opinions, and beliefs to better fit with the American people? Biden, a puppet president and the worst president in history. Hochul, a puppet governor and the worst governor New York has ever had. Albert Einstein would say that they are insane, quote, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You would think after November they would learn that they have to have, that it wouldn't just be the power makers, the kingmakers that would pick their candidate. The Republicans, if you recall, went through this around the time of Romney. I call it the Romney effect, but it's really the Jeb Bush effect, that it was always the Republican talking heads and the quote-unquote power brokers would tell Republican voters, hey, the only way we can win is with Bob Dole. The only way we can win is with John McCain. The only way we can win is with Mitt Romney. And finally, we said enough of it's this person's turn, or they've got to be extremely moderate to win, because they don't win. So finally, when the people like Bill Kristol and others said the only way we can defeat Hillary Clinton is with Jeb Bush, I think that's when the Republicans said, you know what? Yeah, maybe we're going to go with a wild card here with Trump, not knowing exactly what we get, but we know what we've been getting when we listen to the power brokers. I think some Democrats are going through that phase right now. I would have thought it would have come around the time that Bernie Sanders, especially there were so many supporters of Bernie Sanders, that when it was learned that the fix was in, that there's no way he could defeat Hillary Clinton, that the game was rigged, that I thought there'd be a lot of Democrats that would kind of leave the party, either start a third party or go independent, but that proved not to be the case. Okay, quickly on New York State issues. Governor Hochul, according to Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, legislators will give the governor broad authority to make mid-year budget cuts in order to respond to a potential recession and fiscal turbulence caused by federal action. Lawmakers previously granted then-Governor Andrew Cuomo similar power during the COVID-19 pandemic, but the new language has some more rules in place. So basically, what this is doing is giving Governor Hochul a lot of power over the budget. We know the federal money is not going to be there as is budgeted in our budget for a bunch of different reasons. Obviously, Trump has signaled cuts, but also we have a governor who is looking to pick any fight she can with the president. And I don't think at the end of the day, if history proves anything with Trump, that that's going to go well for federal monies coming our way. The New York Post editorial board said, here's a radical idea. This year, how about giving New York State legislators and concerned citizens, the taxpayers of New York, a chance to read all the budget bills before the voting begins? That the budget's a month late doesn't actually justify Governor Hochul issuing the usual message of necessity to speed up the bill's passage for a few days. All the rush does now is keep the details under wrap until it's a done deal. As Betsy McKay notes, this ploy would see the bills hurried printed and put on each lawmaker's desk, along with a message of necessity from Hochul requiring it to be voted on within hours, even in the middle of the night. We distinctly recall Hochul promising unprecedented transparency when she first took office. Dropping the necessity farce would be a good precedent to break. Why not honor the state constitution's requirement that the legislature have 3 days to read a bill before voting on it? Is that too much to ask? The budget is already well over a month late. Maybe the state's leaders fear a public uproar over the reckless and bloated spending plan packed with special interest giveaways and assorted tax hikes. Heaven forbid Republican lawmakers, entirely excluded, mind you, entirely excluded from the budget negotiations, or any contentious lawmaker have a chance to articulately question a deal that breaks in massive budget shortfalls in the coming years, and probably one this year as well. Democrats are making so much noise about the threats to democracy down in Washington, they really should think about allowing at least a tiny bit of democracy in Albany. Okay. We've got to take our last break. Get your last minute comments in, and to the viewer who said that they just joined us for the first time and had those kind words. We appreciate it. And I see that you already know the rules. But if you are new to the program, you see that number on the bottom of the screen. You can feel free to text or leave a voicemail at any time. We try to do our best to read those comments and those opinions. And also, you see that little hand on the bottom of the screen. That's just a virtual wave. If you want to send that, a little emoji, we add that. Or if you happen to be walking by Market Street, we count that too if you wave. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking. We're going to wrap up a few quick things on New York State, a couple things here about the Trump administration, and then today's broadcast will be through. So get those comments in. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
The Twin Tiers first prime time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're going through a lot. Buckle up. We're going to put it that way. We got a lot to get to. Governor Hochul and I think this is the Albany Times Union, they are in support of Governor Hochul's proposal to allow 18-year-olds to become state corrections officers. Your thoughts? 18-year-old becoming, because of that shortage, as we know, because of the firing by Hochul, but also a shortage before that, allowing 18-year-olds to become COs. Also, Andrew Cuomo has been warned no longer to pass notes to his super PAC. What he was doing is really interesting. You're not allowed to go to your super PAC, one that supports you, and say, hey, I want you to do this ad, or I want you to focus on this. That's not the case. You're not legally allowed to do that. What he was doing was going to his website, and it was very difficult to find. It was like 3 pages deep at the bottom, one of those kind of things. And he was laying out what he would like to say to voters, essentially telling the super PAC, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And so now he is being reprimanded for breaking the rules yet again. Comment from a viewer: New York State's ridiculous governor is only hurting New York citizens by going against Trump, as no federal funds are going to come in, and she knows it. Yeah, but now she has the power to make those cuts. AOC is keeping Democrats in suspense over her next move. There's speculation that she wants to go to that leadership position. Some are encouraging her, but now it doesn't look to be in her best political interest. But also, we've had the New York Times and others pushing her to primary Chuck Schumer or even run for president of the United States. So leaving the Democrat Party in suspense, according to The Hill. It's a question of timing. When is best? When is the most opportune time for her to take advantage of all of that? It would not be out of the realm of possibility that she would want to be a presidential candidate. She's very ambitious. She's very smart. She has an uncanny ability to raise money. She understands social media. She's incredibly popular with young voters, and she's got the right issues, said Democrat strategist Hank Scheinkamp. So there you go. Maybe a presidential run. James Clyburn, giving an interview, the 83-year-old Democrat says quitting Congress would be to, quote, give up my life. That's what he told the Wall Street Journal. Nancy left her seat. Steny left his seat. I left my seat. What am I supposed to do now? What do you do? Want me to give up on my life? He asked. All right. Jasmine Crockett, who's trying to make a name for herself by being very anti-Trump. She's using violent rhetoric over and over again. She said that the Democrats need to go after Trump for the good of the country. I don't like that language. But anyway, just giving you an update on her. I know I said I'm going to go through things quick. We didn't even have a chance to mention Mike Pence rebuffing Trump on tariffs, Russia, and January 6th. There's a reason why CNN asked him to come on. He is turning into that kind of resistance. Should come as no surprise from past statements that he has made. Critical of RFK Jr., et cetera, et cetera. By the way, as we wrap up, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered a 20% reduction in the number of military generals and flag officers, arguing that the policy will bolster strategic readiness and operational effectiveness. It'll be implemented in 2 phases. In the first, a minimum of 20% of the military's active duty 4-star generals and flag officers or admirals will be removed. In the second phase, an additional 10% overall reduction of generals and flag officers throughout the Department of Defense will take place, in conjunction with a realignment of the Unified Command Plan. My title is Less Generals, More GIs, Hegseth said in a video. The Defense Secretary argued that the historic order is aligned with President Trump's commitment to achieving peace through strength. A comment from a viewer: 18-year-old corrections officers, they better be at least 6 feet tall and all muscles, otherwise not a good idea. Thank you for that comment. One last news story. China has been hit by worker protests over unpaid wages and factory shutdowns amid the Trump tariffs. We've heard rumors on this that there could be an uprising. Time will tell, but maybe China not having the success with the tariffs that they are trying to show you, trying to put on a happy and brave face. That does it for us today. Thank you for everyone who joined us. Thank you to Dante Brown for being our guest during the Steuben County Office for the Aging segment of our program. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So join us every weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. Look forward to it already.